Mm-mm. Hello, everybody. It's me again. It's Russell Mills, July 19, 2019. I want to say hello to everybody. Basically, the title of this is basically why do white people, I'm going to just say it, why do white people try to forget about history, the African history? Because the reason why I say this, because whenever we get into an argument and debate as human beings that look like myself or look like the European people, the Europeans always try to sweep shit underneath the rug and say, "Oh, that happened to to the Jews and the Holocaust, and they were electrocuted and they were locked up and they had they got chained up and all that other stuff." And I get all that, but here's the thing that people don't understand: our history, the African history, is so deep. Okay, it runs so deep, and even some of us like myself don't even understand all of it because I haven't read a lot of books about it. So I'm not going to act like I'm some scholar that reads everything. We are in the age of information where we have the internet where we can look up certain things just as well as books, just as well. But I was going to read something, and I'm actually going to play a clip of this woman that actually I already knew about. Her name is Jane Elliott. She's a white woman. I don't know if she's still alive or not. She might not be, but but she's an elderly woman, white woman. But she talks about race, and basically, I'm going to say this because it says, I was just reading this on Wikipedia. It says African American history is part of the American history that looks at the history of African Americans and Black Americans in the United States. Although previously marginalized, African American history has gained ground in schools and university and curriculums and received widely scholar attention since the late 20th century. It says the Black history that predates the slave trade is rarely taught in schools and almost never acknowledged. See? As a result, many African Americans grow and believe that slavery was the only event which occurred in their history, which ain't true. Before the civil rights movement, which is not accurate. It says of the 10.7 million African Americans who brought to America until 1860, 450,000 were shipped to what is now called the United States. So you know what I mean. So, like I said, and this is I'm just gonna read this thing quick about. It says most African Americans were descendants from Africans who were brought directly from Africa to America. It says the future slaves were originally captured in African wars or raids and transported in the Atlantic slave trade. African Americans are descendants from various ethnic groups, mostly from ethnic groups that lived in Western and Central Africa, including Sahel. A smaller number of African Americans are descendants from ethnic groups that lived in Eastern and Southeastern Africa. So this is the major ethnic groups that enslaved African Americans belonged to included the Hausa, Bagongo. I can't even read all this, but this is among others. This is although these different groups varied in customs, religiously, and language, what they had in common was a way of life which was different from that of Europeans. So the original majority of future slaves, came from these villages and societies. However, once they were sent to the Americas and enslaved, these different people had European standards and beliefs forced upon them, causing them to do away with tribal differences and forge a new history and culture, of their common past, present, and European culture. Slaves who belonged to specific African ethnic groups were more sought after and became more dominant in numbers than slaves who belonged to African ethnic groups in certain regions of what later became the United States. So again, am I making this shit up? No. But I feel again that white people, they try to sweep shit underneath the rug. And, I'm going to play this little clip of this woman. And let's just, see if I can get rolling here.
exclusive. Diversity trainer and human rights activist Jane Elliott spoke at Milwaukee's NAACP recent Freedom Fund dinner. We had a chance to talk to her. Here's part of that interview. For people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a third grade teacher in a country school in Riceville, Iowa, and I am here at the NAACP speaking because the day after Martin Luther King Jr. was killed by a society that hated him because he was going to change the economic situation in this country, I did exercise and discrimination with my third grade classroom to let my little third graders, all white, all Christian children, find out how it feels to be something other than white in the United States of America. I split them according to the color of their eyes and treated those who had the wrong color eyes for the day the way we have traditionally treated blacks, Native Americans, Asians, all those Jews, all those who are different in appearance or in religion. And we learned more that day than I wanted to know.
What did that study show you?
Oh, it showed me a lot of things. Number one, it showed me that racism is a learned response. Nobody's born a bigot. You have to teach bigotry, and that's what we do in this country. I found out how it feels to be on the receiving end of racism because I'm blue-eyed, and the brown-eyed children were on the top in that first day. And I found out how it feels to be treated badly by people over whom you have power because of having the wrong color eyes. I found out how it feels to be subjected to unbelievable and unreal discrimination because of a physical characteristic over which I had no control. I thought I knew about racism. I thought I knew about child psychology. I knew nothing. All I knew was what I had learned in school. And what I had learned in school was not education. What I got in school wasn't education. It was indoctrination. I was taught how to be a good American citizen. And in this country, we think that the only Americans are the ones who live in the contiguous 48 states of the United States. Americans are everybody from the very north tip of Canada to the very southern tip of South America. But we, in our arrogance, say that we are the only Americans. If you're really going to keep this America to Americans, we don't dare build a wall on the southern border of the United States because those people, those brown-skinned people that are going to come across that border are Americans. Now, we'd better choose our language or choose our behaviors. Let me tell you something. It wasn't a study, and it wasn't an experiment. I don't experiment with children without their knowledge or their permission. It was experiential education. It was giving a child an experience for the purpose of changing their brain. And that's exactly what it does every time I do it.
Now, you conducted the same study, not study. Exercise with adults.
Oh, yeah.
And is it any different between the children and the adults?
Adults get more violent. I've been hit several times by white males, angry white males. I've had a knife pulled on me. They ran me out of Uniontown, Pennsylvania at midnight one night, 3 carloads of blacks did, to get me out of town because the teachers that I put through the exercise in a very limited way were so angry that they called the superintendent in the afternoon and said, if you don't get that bitch out of town, we're going to kill her. So they got me out of town. First time I've been scared. And the last time I've been scared. Because I found out that day that they could kill me, but they couldn't kill the idea. Victor Hugo said, no force on earth can stop an idea whose time has come. The idea of one race, the human race, is an idea whose time has come. We are not going to be able to stop it no matter what they do. They can elect Trump after Trump after Trump, and that will not stop the idea that there's only one race on the face of the earth. It's the human race, and we are all members of it. You and I are cousins. Now, if you don't like being my cousin, that's too bad for you. But we are all in the same family. We are members of the family of man.
You say that all whites are racist. Can you expound on that?
Any white person who was born, raised, and schooled in the United States of America, if you aren't a racist, you're a miracle. Either that or you decided to educate yourself. Because education in this country is about white is right, brown's all right, black's got to stand back. Yellow's mellow, but whites, we educate in a way that says that white males have done all the adventures, have made all the adventures, have done all the discovering, have made everything that is good and has been accomplished according to social studies, which is actually anti-social studies, by white males. It's a lie. But we do that in order to maintain the myth of white superiority. The myth of race has to be maintained at all costs in this country. Because if white people have to give up the color of their skin as being something that makes them perfect, what do they have left? If we start teaching the truth about history, if we start teaching about Nile Valley contributions to civilization, it will totally change the way we conduct ourselves in the classroom. It will have to. Columbus didn't discover America. You can't discover a place where people are already living. But we celebrate that every October. It's a lie. We need to get over it. We need to stop telling the myths and start telling the truth.
So when you tell people that they're racist, and it must have some kind of effect, because most people will say, I'm not racist.
I'm not a racist. Why, some of my best friends are black. Yeah, and then you say, name one. Or this one, I don't see color. And when some woman says to me, I don't see color, I say, I knew that. If you saw color, you wouldn't dye your hair that way. Or I say, if you saw color, you wouldn't wear that shirt with those pants. I believe that you don't see color. It's an attempt to deny skin color. And it's an attempt to deny what's wrong with seeing the color of my skin. Is it all right for you to see me kind of pink? That's okay for me. I don't mind. And I suspect that you don't mind being seen the color you are. You have a right to be what you are. And until people in this country and people in this world get it into their heads that the first modern human beings that evolved on this earth were black women. They evolved in sub-Saharan Africa about 280,000 years ago. And every human being on the face of the earth today has the memory of those black women's genetic structure in their genes. Now, we don't want to admit that, but that's the way it is. And as people moved farther and farther from the equator, their bodies produced less and less melanin, so their hair, their skin, and their eyes got lighter. As they moved into the east, they ate a lot of fish and a lot of vegetables, so their skin took on a different tone. I found that out when I was raising little kids. My husband worked in a supermarket. He was the head of the produce department, and they had lots of oranges that they couldn't sell, so we'd bring them home, and I was feeding my kids orange juice like you never saw in your life. They began to have an orange cast to their skin. I thought they had a liver problem. So I took them to the doctor, and she said, what are you feeding these kids? I said, well, lots of orange juice. She said, stop it if you want them to stop being orange. Now, if you think that skin color isn't anything other than the body's natural reaction to the natural environment, get over it.
So, if all white people are racist, according to you, can they be reprogrammed?
Of course they can. Of course they can. Of course they can be. It's called education. I'm an educator. The word educator comes from the root "dus," which means lead, the prefix "e," which means out, the suffix "ate," which means the act of, and the suffix "or," which means one who does. An educator is one who is engaged in the act of leading people out of ignorance. Now, I know you can change them. The second year I did the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise in my classroom, it was filmed by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. They gave me a copy of that film. I showed it to my father. My father was about 59 years old at the time. He'd been a farmer all his life. He raised six kids, lost one. Raised six. Watched that film as a 59-year-old man. When it was over, he stood up, and with tears in his eyes, he took his red handkerchief out of the back pocket of his overalls, his bill overalls, and said, I wish somebody had taught me that when I was 9 years old. Nobody had dare say to me, this doesn't work, this is too harsh, this isn't necessary, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, because they're wrong. You can teach an old dog new tricks. You can teach people to give up the myth of racism. Somebody taught the Greeks to give up the myth that the sun was a god in a golden chariot that went across the sky every morning. They believed that for hundreds of years. We have believed the myth of 3 or 4 races, different races in this country, for long enough. 572 years or something like that is enough of that. It was a lie to begin with, and it's a lie today.
We'll continue this interview online next week.
So, everybody out there, that just saw a quick clip of this woman, Jane Elliott. She said that people that are racist can be changed. And I believe they can. But you heard her, a white woman, breaking it down. about, and there's more. Obviously, I'm not going to play all this. Hopefully, YouTube doesn't do anything, and because I, you know, use a old clip from somebody. But at the end of the day, did you see what she was talking about? Did you hear what she was talking about? Just in that little small segment that that I took off of YouTube. So again, she's saying that stuff that that they're teaching us in the school system, which a lot of us already know, is a lie, like Columbus Day, and you heard her say this, as many other scholars have said, I'm sure, and many other black people. But again, I agree with everything that she's saying, and she don't even look like me, but she is a human being. But at the end of the day, how come a person like, and I'm going to say this to you white people, how come, you know, you know, how come how come someone like her can get it, but most of you white people can't get it? Because I think you guys are afraid. I think that you guys don't want to don't you know the truth, but you refuse to acknowledge the truth. If we did the same thing to white people, Europeans, which we actually, if you look in our history, black people did own slaves, which were Europeans back in the day. And that's fine. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's fine, it's not fine, but I'm just saying that's how it was. Again, they tricked us. They brought some of us over here. Some of us were already here. They took the strong ones. Like I said, how come someone like her, that's not even, whether she's dead or alive or whatever, but someone like that can get it? Because she educated herself. See, that's how you can get out of this racism bullshit, is understand somebody else's pain. Are you going to know how it feels to be a black man or woman? No. Are you going to know how it feels for certain things to transpire? No. But again, you know what I'm saying? And again, maybe some people don't. And I got to ask you something, Mr. Phil Sims. Slavery don't bother me. Okay. I want to ask you something, Phil. How old are you, first and foremost? I'm almost 43. And I remember seeing old documentaries when I was younger, okay, about racism, about dogs barking. Oh, you're 43 too. Okay, Phil. So me and you close in age. Okay. 42, be 43 next year. But regardless, here's the thing. It might not bother people, because people, I'm not saying every day people has to think about it, but you do have to think about certain things. And certain things that trigger the minds like this, it does bother me. It bothers me when black people call each other the N-word all the time. When you're in the street, whether you're in the hip hop, it bothers me because we're not that word. Okay. And originally the original word is negus, which means king. Okay. That's the original word of that word. But unfortunately, I don't know how and whoever changed it to make it the way that it is. And then we used it and the white man used it, and I don't understand it. And then it became a derogatory word over the years, and I don't understand that. But someone like her, like Jane Elliott, someone like her that just got it and said she, what I mean, racism can be, people that are racist can be transformed. And it's all it takes is educating your mind and understanding who you are, understand what history is. That's how you get educated, is understanding by reading, looking things up, whether you do it online, you go to the library or whatever. That's how you get that ignorance out of your mind and be around people that are different from you. You know what I'm saying? And yes, since we need to be more respectful of each other, you're right about that. We all need to be respectful. We all need to understand who we are and love ourselves and stop with the stupid stuff. But again, I'm going to say this. I don't think some white people, and I said this in one of my last videos, I don't think some European people are going to understand what you've done in our minds. And you know what I mean? And yes, are there beautiful black people that are smart, that have educations, that have their own businesses? Absolutely. Are there European people with businesses? Absolutely. Because you worked hard, you had a plan, you had a game plan. I get all that. That's beautiful. And there's nothing, you have the right type of people around you, which is beautiful. But again, let's compare the European businesses compared to the African businesses. And to me, I don't even think it's even close because unfortunately, we don't have a culture in America. Every other place does. We don't have a culture. That's why we don't get along the way we do, because it all starts with culture, understanding where our DNA is from, what tribe we're from. Okay, what part of the world we're from? Are we from Western Africa? Are we from Eastern Africa? Where are we from? You know what I'm saying? Where are we from? Even myself, I don't know where I'm from. I've asked my parents. My parents don't know where they're from. Okay, and it's like that's not cool. And I know the people who say, "Oh, there's what's that ancestry.com or something," and maybe I might have to check into that. You know what I'm saying myself, and I might have to. But again, like I said, I feel like European people, they don't understand you know what I mean, what they say and do to black people. When you say the word boy, you say the N word, you're saying, yo, come here, or what up, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Closer. Yeah, we were, Seville, let me tell you something. We were closer back in the day. And let me tell you something. The black woman actually loved us back in the day. Now the black woman don't love you no more. The black woman is confused because we don't understand who we are. We don't understand where our mindsets are. We don't understand anything. Because again, it all starts with culture, understanding where you are, where you're from, what culture you are from. Unfortunately, the so-called African women, they don't like us no more. They want your money, you know what I mean? Or they don't even want you. Sometimes they don't even want your money. They don't even just want you. They don't even want to be bothered. They don't even want to look at you anymore as a so-called African man. They don't want to look at you no more because they think you're a piece of shit. Because unfortunately, there have been so-called black men that have treated black women wrong, and vice versa. So unfortunately, there's women that hold grudges, and so they feel just like a lot of us. Let's just go to someone else. Let's go to another race. I've dated out of my race plenty of times. I'm not gonna sit here and say, "Oh, I've never dated. I've never dated white women. Never slept with them. I never." Come on, man. Like I'm not gonna. I've dated black women, dated white women, we dated Spanish women. If we took the emotions out of our minds as African people, thought about our decisions closely. Even myself, when I made a lot of stupid and dumb decisions pertaining myself or other people or our own people, whatever. I didn't take the time to think. If we took the time to think and use our minds to be three-dimensional thinkers, we'd be all good. And have a culture on top of that, and plus get our money together, get out and trust each other, we would have this whole world, man. But unfortunately, we don't have a trust in ourselves. We don't trust ourselves. We will trust everybody else that don't look like us, but we'll trust. But we'll say, okay, go ahead. Since they gave the black woman jobs and locked the black man up, totally turned. Yeah, that's what we got to do. So again, I agree with both of you guys or whatever. We just have to learn, man. We have to learn to stop being emotional all the time. Am I gonna sit back on this camera and say, "Oh, I've never been emotional. Me and my son's mother that's black never got in many fights and argued and fight and I put my hands on. I did all. You know what? Stupid, because I was stupid. I was dumb. I was emotional. I didn't care. I wasn't thinking of. I wasn't respecting my son. I wasn't respecting her. I wasn't respecting the family value. I wasn't expecting anything. We both didn't have that. So unfortunately, when you take the time to act foolish, be dumb, don't have a culture, don't understand that person, play that person, act like you know what I mean. Don't care about those person's feelings. You know what I mean? Then you're gonna have a mess. And that's why, unfortunately, when you have families that are a mess, the children become a mess. I already know. My son's going through it right now. Okay, and number two, he's autistic. So his mind doesn't think the same way as someone that's not autistic. So that's another challenge for myself. That's another challenge for his mom, sure. Okay? She has him more than myself. That's it. We have to take the time to stop, understand who we are, love ourselves, keep God first, love God, ask, you know what I'm saying? Be thankful every day, but come up with the plan, black people. Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Even I've said this in many, many, many videos of mine. I got maybe 160, 100, maybe 70 videos on YouTube where I talk about like we need to come together. And I've even said, look, I've given you my email, which if anybody wants to email me, it's millsrussell@rockandmill.com. That's out of Yahoo. You can look me up on Facebook, Russell Mills out of Salem, Massachusetts. You can hit me up on like Twitter, Raxum1877, I believe it is, Russell Mills. I've said, look, let's come up with some type of game plan. Talk to me. Let's talk to each other. Let's come together. Let's learn. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be a rich man to have a plan. You just have to have a plan and the right type of people. And of course, you have to come up with the money. But at the end of the day, you got to come up with the concept, the plan, the idea. Where's the location going to be? How are we going to do this? How much money is it going to be? This is what I'm saying. Have positivity in our life. This is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Not all my videos are Mr. Positive. Not all my videos are Mr. Negative. You know what I'm saying? But I just keep it real. And some people might not like that because I'm outspoken. I say what I feel, whether I'm on camera or I'm off camera. I'm basically the same dude. But no, maybe I was getting off track, but I'm not going to keep rambling on. But this is what this person, Jane Elliott, was talking about. And I applaud her for that. I don't know if she's dead or alive or whatever, but even regardless, I applaud someone like her because look at what she said and done. She said that racist people can be changed, and she also said that black people, you know what I'm saying? Like our history has been researched so many times, and people have lied to us. People already know who the original man and woman is. It's us, African people. We taught everything. Everybody came from us. You heard her talk about the equator and the melanin. You heard her say this, and everybody else knows this, I'm sure. So Phil says, in all honesty, I really don't think there's any hope for us or a lot of people today. This country has gone crazy. Phil, agree with you. I don't understand it. Like I said, the culture. We don't have culture. Because, again, we could criticize each other and say, who's this and that, and you're an asshole. You know what I mean? Absolutely, Phil. We got to put God first. I agree with you 100%. The Lord's supposed to be our shepherd always. At the end of the day, I wish people would just understand. You know what I'm saying? Because this battle between this battle between black and white is gonna keep happening, and people aren't gonna understand the whole situation, the whole dynamic from top to bottom. They're not going to. You know what I mean? So I don't know if this helped or hurt anybody. Maybe my opinion don't mean shit to nobody. I don't know. But I'm just praying to God that we get our minds right in this country. Because it's getting very sad and sickening. But feel free to check out my YouTube channel. It's Russell Mills, RussellMills, May 22nd, 2017. My first video, Why Black People Settle for Less. Feel free. What's up, DC? My brother right there that, actually told me about this woman, but I already knew about her anyway because I know she was on Oprah years ago. I saw the clips of that, of her trying to school some white people. Jane Elliott, I'm talking about schooling people about racist white people, which like she said, people can change. Everybody can change. You know what I'm saying? But you have to put the Most High first. God has to be first in your life. You have to put Jesus Christ in your life. You know what I mean? What's going on, DC? I hope everything's good. You know, still fighting the fight. Still got things going on. We could talk about that, you know, on the phone when we get a chance. But everybody, feel free to check out my YouTube channel. I want to say thank you for, you know what I'm saying? And yes, sir, you're right. People gotta want it. People want it. People need to change. Absolutely, DC. I agree with you, sir. But unfortunately, some of us we don't want to change, man. We think it's all right to be ignorant, and you know, and we don't want to put God first. You know, we want to put ourselves first, and that's why this country's in the predicament that we're in, because we put ourselves first. You know, we put our own selves as God. You know what I'm saying? We think we're God. We're not. We're just flesh and bone. That's all we are, man. A lot of us don't get that, man. That's why you see so many damn diseases going on. Like I said, Satan's everywhere, everybody. Whether people feel, you know, whether people believe in Satan, no, Satan's everywhere. This ain't God's world, man. It talks about that. What's that in Matthew? Scripture about Matthew. This ain't God's world, man. This is Satan's world. We're just playing in this pit. That's all it is. But everybody, take care. God bless everybody that has watched. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying that's what, you know what I'm saying? God is the answer. You're right, DC. And says, hey, brother, it's the same lady Jane said you shall be given resources of reparations. Yes, that's the same woman, Rainey Washington. Yes. But thank you for anybody that has watched this video, and I appreciate, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate that. But everybody, take care. God bless. Feel free to check out my YouTube channel again, Russell Mills, RussellMills, May 22nd, 2017. My first video, Why Black People Settle for Less. Feel free to check it out. I want my message to be spread everywhere across America, whether people agree with my messages or they don't. But everybody, take care. Peace.